Is there a strategy that'll help you grow your company faster? CEO Sales Strategies is an investigative business podcast for entrepreneurial people who never stop asking questions. Highly acclaimed sales revenue growth expert Doug C. Brown interviews CEOs, business owners, and professionals who serve them to uncover and share actionable tips and methods behind their bulletproof sales strategies. Topics covered on the show include their failures, struggles, secrets, and processes that help them succeed in selling millions to billions of dollars of their products and services, all with the sole aim of helping you grow your business. If you are eager to know the most effective sales secrets from the A players of the game, then the CEO Sales Strategies podcast is certainly the place to be.
Hey everyone, this is Doug C. Brown with another episode of the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. We are bringing you an amazing guest who understands SEO as a client acquisition strategy. Now, I'm not just talking about SEO for the sake of getting you rankings on your website. It will do that as well. But let's talk about, because this is the Sales Strategies program, right? Let's talk about how do you convert sales using SEO? And that's what we're going to talk about with Farzad, and his last name is Rashidi. It took me a while to kind of figure out how to say his name, but he's one of the most brilliant. Well, actually, he is the most brilliant person I've talked with when it comes to SEO and link building, but utilizing it for a client acquisition strategies and utilizing it when you're supposed to and saying, hey, this isn't going to work for you as a client acquisition strategy as well. He gives you a couple of great questions to ask. Is this right for me? Because you may have been through this, somebody's been through this where they're like, my God, I got to go get some SEO strategy. I talked to an agency, or I talked to this, or I talked to that. And they go, you just need SEO. Well, the reality is, no, you don't. Many of the times it's a possible nice to have, or not even a need to have. You invest your monies and time and energy into that, and it's not giving you the ROI you want, but you don't know any better. Not saying you don't. I'm saying most business owners and people doing this, they just don't know any better, because it's one of those things that's kind of like out in the ether, and you think you need it, but you're not really sure how to utilize it, but you do it anyways because everybody's saying, oh, this is what you got to have. And especially people you talk to who actually sell things like websites and SEO and those type of things. So he breaks it down into practical terms and really gives you great strategic advice on the do's and don'ts. And he's got a link building software on the back of this, which is, I've already checked it out. It's really cool. It's called Respona. And well, let's go to the interview and let's talk to Farzad. Here we go. Farzad, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. Thanks for being on here.
Thanks for having me on the show, Doug. I'm super excited.
So I love your offering on Respona. And folks, it's at respona.com. And I don't usually put it right out forth and go promote this, but it's a really cool offering. Check it out. We're going to go to that before we're done here. I like this subject because it's about using SEO as a custom acquisition strategy. And a lot of people don't think about SEO in that kind of context, right? They think of SEO as, oh, I'm going to get search engine rankings to my website. But they're really not looking at it as an acquisition strategy. It's kind of a thought, maybe, I guess, like, oh, I need that, and my competition will be on the first page. I got to be on the first page, etc. So let's talk about using, because you're an expert, not only in this and many things online, but let's talk about how to use SEO as the right strategy for the right channel, because you brought this to my attention. I thought it was an excellent point.
Yeah, absolutely, Doug. And I'm more than happy to do that. But before we sort of begin talking about SEO as a channel, I think what's important for us is to understand if it's the right strategy or a right acquisition strategy for your business. Because lots of times I see a lot of businesses want to experiment with SEO, quote unquote, and they go and spend a ton of money hiring an expensive agency or a freelancer or pay someone on Upwork, and they're like, hey, do some SEO for us. And 99.9% of the time, that just doesn't work out. And they're like, okay, well, this is not the right channel for us, and they move on. So before you even spend a second thinking about this, I would suggest kind of having a checklist of items to hit before you even kind of start digging into this acquisition channel, because just like any other customer acquisition strategy, it's a lot of work to make organic traffic work. So the first thing you want to answer is, one, are your customers actively aware of the problem that you're solving? So, for example, if you sell some sort of a very expensive, I would say, medical device company, right? It's unlikely that the stuff that you're selling is necessarily actively something that people are actively searching for or actively looking for. And number two is that if something that they are aware of the problem, where are they searching for it? And is the answer to that, if the answer to that is Google, then it's almost idiotic not to take SEO seriously. So one, want to make sure that your customers are aware of the problem you're solving. Two, they're actively searching for it on Google. And if that's not the case, then just put it aside completely. Like, for example, let's say you run an e-commerce store and you sell t-shirts and socks. Yes, so you can make SEO work in certain ways, like writing guides and holiday gift packages or gift ideas or whatever, but it's a long stretch. Your best bet is probably going to be paid ads, right? Stick with social, run some TikTok, I would say, or run some influencer campaigns through TikTok, or run some ads through Instagram and call it a day. Or my original example, when it comes to that medical device company, don't waste your time writing blog posts on your website, right? Just go ahead and hire a bunch of salespeople, go door to door, start selling that thing. The sales cycle on those type of products and services are completely different. But if you're a type of company, like, for example, Respona, we sell a link building software for companies that, especially software companies that are reliant on organic traffic from Google. Or my original company, Visme, which I was director of marketing of, which is a presentation/infographic software. So if you're a business owner, you know that you wanted to create a presentation, right? And normally, what's the first thing you do when you go in to create a presentation if you don't already have a solution for it, Doug? So let's say you want to create an infographic or a presentation for this episode, and you're looking for a software. What's the first thing you do in your research process?
What would be the first thing I would do if I was looking for a presentation software? I mean, I'd go to Google and I would type in presentation software or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, that is normally the case for the type of products that SEO would work for, is that you're actually actively searching for it through Google. So answering these two questions is going to shed some light in terms of, first, is there a reliable strategy here that exists? And then all the stuff that I'm going to talk about during this episode is going to be an afterthought after that. So kind of figuring out if it's I would say, a reliable strategy for you is number one.
And I think the two questions that you have are the two questions that people never ask, right? Because they're not thinking of SEO in this capacity. It's like, do I actually need SEO, or do I need another medium? And a business is thinking, well, if I'm visible on page one, then that's going to get eyeballs to my website, and that's going to get traffic to my website, which has some credibility to that statement. But what I'm really hearing you say is, are they searching for the problem or the opportunity online, and aligning that with your SEO strategy? And the second thing is, are they searching for it on Google? Which is an interesting thing, because if you think about it, there are other search engines. So, I mean, let's talk about other search engines. Now, if they're searching for it on Bing or Edge or whatever, like all the new, Bing, or they're searching for it on Firefox or whatever. Is it still
like Amazon, YouTube, TikTok, right? Search engines that people use for, we all think of search engines as like text-based search engines, but it could be, for example, if I want a new pot or like kitchen appliances, I rarely ever Google that, right? I just go straight to Amazon and look for things on Amazon. So that's where Amazon SEO comes into play, which is completely different from what we do, right? So SEO, from the sense of what we are talking about today, is predominantly focused on Google. Or, for example, if you sell some sort of like dad gifts and like fun e-commerce products, like normally people look for those, identify those through channels like YouTube or TikTok. So what I'm kind of advocating here for is that what I'm going to be talking about, or really SEO from Google perspective, is mainly used for products that you would Google to find, and that's something that is a subset of businesses that operate online.
So I'm going to keep asking some kind of maybe some basic level questions, because I'm kind of in the head of the average business owner that goes, what the hell? I mean, I know what SEO stands for, but we're like, really, how's it all work? Really? I mean, like, I don't know. I'm a business owner. I sell, laser guided manufacturing machines for XYZ industry. Why would I need SEO?
You don't. If you sell laser guided, I would say appliances for the army,
right?
Don't invest your time and resources on SEO. The simple answer to that is you don't. Put it aside. Don't even think about it. Close this episode, right? Or look for the next episode that's coming up. But what I'm trying to say is that if it seems irrelevant to you, it is. So one thing that has been a lot of talk in the industry, a lot of agencies, unfortunately, what they advertise SEO as a service that is good for any type of business. And it's just simply not true.
That is so powerful, because the reality is it's kind of like, go to school, get good grades, and you'll have a good job and you'll be happy forever, right? I mean, that's kind of the adage of what people are taught. So in SEO, that's exactly what I've witnessed is companies are going to SEO agencies and they're saying, man, without this, you're dead. You need SEO no matter what. Everybody has SEO. But what I'm hearing from you, which is the truth, is you don't need SEO unless it's the right strategy for your particular business to go after a client.
Exactly. Yeah. And put yourself in shoes of a customer, right? So for example, if you sell pharmaceutical, just some sort of drugs, like as a consumer perspective, you don't ever go and Google a certain, that actually is probably not the best example here, but let's say you sell, I would say like enterprise grade software, even, right? Stuff that you sell to Fortune 1000 companies. And it's not really irrelevant. So some sort of AI analytics platform that is very niche market. And these type of products, you need to go find, first of all, those decision makers are probably not even aware of the problem that you're solving, right? Because you're either a nice to have or some sort of improvement to their existing workflows. They probably already have some sort of workaround that they get around that problem. And if so, then you want to go find a person at the company, go reach out to them, hire salespeople, SDRs and AEs, and get them on a demo. And that's an entirely different workflow versus a type of company like, for example, say you are a webinar provider or some sort of a lead generation service that people are actively actually looking for online as a consumer, from a customer perspective.
So we're speaking with Farzad Rashidi, and he is an expert, I can tell you now, on SEO. He owns, he's a co-founder of Respona and Respona.com. I want you to check that one out, because it's not just link building. We'll get into this in just a minute, but it's really cool. We're talking about how to do SEO the right way. And, there are people who come on and they're like, how do I build traffic to my podcast? I think I'll do SEO. Do you recommend it? Do you not recommend it? Or does it depend?
Yeah. So it's a funny meme, Doug, in the SEO industry, where I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's this guy who has this tape and then he just slaps it on a tank of water that's leaking. And it's like, it depends. They use it for every, that sentence they use as an answer for any question. And here I would say, again, put yourself in shoes of a podcast listener. How do you go find new podcast? Do you normally go and Google, hey, what are some of the best entrepreneurship podcasts? Maybe. But most people who listen to podcasts normally started from a referral, right? Like a friend was like, hey, I'm listening to this podcast. And they listen to podcasts who normally interview other people who come onto the podcast, learn about their podcast. And that's normally how they kind of find other podcasts that they subscribe to. It's rarely people who are actively Googling about a type of podcast. Again, I'm just talking in hypotheticals. I'm not really sure. I need to go look into it. But as a I would say audience perspective, I think one of the best ways to kind of improve or I would say expand your audience is to go on as a guest on other people's podcasts, because those listeners are already podcast listeners. So you're catering, or you're basically advertising for free on a network that already has your audience. So there are better ways for most businesses to acquire customers than SEO. But a subset of businesses that are acquiring customers through Google, it's the number one channel. So let me give you some numbers that would make sense. For example, Visme is a bootstrap company created in 2013 by my co-founder, Paymon. I was not the founder of Visme. And we grew the company, so it's completely bootstrapped, never raised any outside funding. Now has over 100 employees, fully profitable, with 16 million active users. So the way we've acquired these customers is by building specific landing pages and blog posts that cater to specific keywords. Like, for example, if you go on Google, infographic maker or presentation templates, Visme is normally the top 3, if not top 5, or on page 1 for sure. And so these are type of high intent keywords that we've targeted and kind of built ourselves up for those specific, I would say, queries that have some sort of intent behind them. And that's something that's been sort of built on top of over the course of the past 7, 8 years. So it's not like something that you would basically plug and play and it starts working. But once you put into work and actually build a repeatable process, and you start building some organic evergreen traffic to your website, now those pages that you built already are getting traffic, and now you're building on top. So that gives you that nice little hockey stick growth. So right now, Visme's website gets close to about 3 million in monthly organic traffic. And if we were to pay Google through AdWords to bring in the same level of traffic, how much money do you think we would have to pay Google? Just throw a number out there, Doug.
Oh, 3 million?
Close to about 1.5 million a month, each month, every month. So, and we spend a lot less now in our marketing than $1.5 million a month. So it works really well for some industries and for some type of companies, like what we've seen. Respona, we've started a company a few years back. Now it's getting close to about 100,000 people to our website every single month. Even though we don't have as big of a brand recognition, right? You haven't heard of Visme or Respona as a product, but if you have a problem that we solve, it's unlikely it won't come across as if you're Googling around to find a solution. So it works really well for if you're in the right industry.
This is fantastic information. I really appreciate you bringing this forth. Let's talk a little more about keywords. Let's say I have a sales team, and they're actively hitting the street and hitting social media and doing everything they're supposed to do. But I want to supplement this with some incoming type leads. I mean, you were just saying, if I heard you correctly, 60 million active users on Visme, and you guys are also on Respona, bringing in about 100,000 inbound eyeballs to your site every single month. Is that right?
That's right.
So it's a really nice number of people looking there. So I'm thinking now, as a business owner that owns a company, I've got a sales team of, I don't know, 12 people. They're hitting the street. They're going out there doing their thing. I'm making money, but I'm like, man, you know what? I got to do something online, because we're kind of doing this, still works. Still cold calls still work no matter what people think, right? It all of that still works, but I now need an online strategy. Is SEO my first first play, or does it go back to the sticker on the thing? It depends, right? But let's say, but should I look at SEO as a viable strategy if my people are, say, searching online? Let's say my team is doing medical sales, whatever, and the medical companies are looking, our targets are looking online. They're doing research online, trying to figure out what the best hardware pieces that, say, we represent, as well as I'm a medical device representation company, and several people sell it, but we're of course we're the best, and my 12 salespeople are the top people who do this. So should I be looking at an SEO strategy in that capacity?
I would recommend not at all. So for example, for a medical device company, you're likely dealing with deal sizes that are higher ticket, right? You're talking like 20, 30K minimum up to like 100K plus. These type of deals require a certain level of human touch and also a certain level of connections and getting your foot in the door that you require to have a sales team in order to be successful. So I would recommend not touching it at all and move on with the channels that already work and double down on those. Because every penny you spend on SEO, you could spend on hiring another SDR, right? So you're kind of losing money by shifting focus by trying to do everything at the same time. But let me give you an example of a company that I think would be very successful with SEO. So we just recently brought on board a new customer, and I just had a call with the founder today. They sell a webinar software. So as a podcast owner or as a podcast host, let's say you want to start hosting webinars. You're like, hey, this is a very interesting channel. I'd love to have basically live webinars that I'd like to offer to my audience, and either could be paid or for free. What's the first thing you do when you want to look for a webinar platform in your customer journey as the potential customer?
I think in my capacity, I would go to Google. I would type in, webinar software or something of that capacity, right?
Bingo, exactly. So that's where you start. So exactly, let's work our way back to the customer, right? So normally we understand that there are some bottom of the funnel keywords that are key. So these are what we call parent keywords, where any business owner knows what they are. So if you're a webinar platform, webinar software, or automated webinar software, however way you want to define yourself, position yourself in the market, is your parent keyword. So go and create a landing page, or what we call a money page, that basically describes, hey, we're a webinar software, here's how our platform works, and go sign up for a free trial or something like that, right? So that page on its own is what we call a parent or a money page or a landing page that you want to put on your website as a way to sort of get bottom of the funnel traffic. Now, you put this software out in the world. Let me tell you, let's actually Google this right now. How many search results do you think show up when you go and look for a keyword like webinar software? Just to throw a number out there.
I would say million plus, right? I mean, it's a pretty big.
It's about 300 million.
Oh yeah, so
so competing against 300 million on our web pages. So how do we get ourselves in the top 10, right? Ideally top 3. So in order to do that, we need to establish some topical authority for that keyword. So we want to imply to Google and other search engines that, hey, we're an authoritative resource on webinars. So what you want to do is to start a content marketing strategy, which basically is saying, hey, what are some of the other keywords that are more on the top of the funnel? For example, how do I start a webinar? Or what's the best time to host a webinar? What are some of the best webinar platforms I can use, right? Yada, yada, yada. So questions that people are asking that is not necessarily buying intent keywords, but these are actually educational pieces that you could put together as a form of a blog post and put it on your website. Now, what happens is that it's going to imply to search engines that, hey, this website is about webinars, has a lot of educational pieces of content. And then what you want to do is to kind of build that site structure where each one of your blog posts now also reference your webinar software landing page, that parent page that we built, in the blog post as well. So this is what we call internal links, where you're creating one parent page and then now creating supporting articles supporting it. And then each one links to that parent page. All right. Now, an SEO consultant would charge you about $2 to $3K just to tell you that information in so many fancy words. So that's pretty much how you build a website that's primed for search engines. So basically, create landing pages, build supporting articles, create internal links. Now, that keyword research process, there's a lot of tools out there that tell you what are some of the keywords that you need to prioritize, because about webinars, there's gazillion different types of keywords. So you can use tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush that basically give you some more insight about each one of these keywords, like how competitive is these keywords, how much search volume they get, how likely it is you'll be able to rank. So you can use that information to prioritize keywords that have lower competition, higher volume, and higher commercial intent. So basically, that overlapping of those 3 metrics is a way that you can prioritize these keywords and create content pages according to those user intent. So that's normally the starting point for any sort of SEO strategy.
Let's go to the last word you said, commercial intent, was it? Okay.
Yeah, so I can dig a little deeper in here. So let's pick a keyword. So let's say, for example, we have a handful of keywords that we want to target, right? So for example, for our blog, we want to start writing content on what is a webinar, or what's the best time to host a webinar, or what are some of the best tools for creating a webinar. So any company has limited resources. And when there's unlimited options, and keywords are one of those unlimited, I would say there's hundreds of millions of variations of the keyword that you can target. You need to build a process that properly helps you prioritize them, to start investing your resources in places where it gives you the most amount of value for your buck, basically, in the shortest amount of time possible. So we use 3 metrics to judge keywords and rank them based on basically those 3 factors. One is competition. So these SEO tools basically give you a number from 0 to 100. It's called keyword difficulty. That's basically telling you, hey, how feasible is this keyword to rank for? Like, is it dominated by like Adobe and Google and a bunch of other big websites, Microsoft, that you don't really stand a chance? Or they're, dominated by some of the lower authoritative websites that you actually are still competitive with. And then as time goes on, you become a more authoritative website, so going after keywords that are a little more competitive. But you ideally at least want to develop. So we developed this formula, which I used to call, I call it the Farzad score. And the team was like, no. So we landed on opportunity score. So we put together the score that we basically take these 3 factors into consideration. So one is keyword competition or keyword difficulty. Second one is volume. So this one is easy peasy, right? So you obviously want to prioritize keywords that have a certain level of volume. Now, it doesn't mean you should only go after keywords that have high volume. That's not it. I'm saying volume is one out of the 3 factors that should be taken into consideration when it comes to picking a keyword. Because if there are 2 keywords that have the same level of competition, same level of commercial intent, you want to pick the one with the more volume, right? So it only makes sense, because a lot of content marketers get a little defensive when I say volume is part of that score, and they're like, no. I'm like, yes, it is. And the last one is commercial intent, which you asked about. So this one's a little tricky, because commercial intent is in and out of itself is very subjective, right? So you can't really put a number on intent, except that you can. So with Google in particular, since they allow advertisers to run ads and advertisers like to make money, there is a number called cost per click that these SEO tools give you. So basically for this keyword, for example, webinar software, the cost per click is $24, and what is webinar is 2 cents. So from an advertiser perspective, which one do you think has higher commercial intent value?
Well, I would say the $24 one.
Yeah, exactly. Because guess what? Advertisers wouldn't spend that much money if they weren't making money out of that keyword. So even though we're talking SEO here, which is about organic traffic, not paid ads, we're still taking metrics from paid ads into our prioritization process, right? So that's why we want to make sure that we kind of have a process that we take all 3 into consideration. So we plug those 3 numbers that we have into a little nice formula. I explained this entire process from A to Z. I know it's difficult to follow in a podcast format because I can't share my screen to show you. In a free ebook I wrote, we don't upsell you on anything. It's free completely. It's called Visme Marketing ebook. So you can go out or Visme Marketing Strategy. If you want to Google that, it should be at the top. And you can download that free ebook. I wrote it myself, and it practically gives you A to Z of how you go about building the right website and doing proper keyword research.
I personally like the Farzad score a heck of a lot better than what they recommend.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. We should get that going.
So I need to talk with the rest of the company and put some persuasion on this. You are the smartest man I've ever talked to on this subject. So, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, I have talked to a lot of people. You can explain this in a very practical way and lay it out step by step by step. So I really appreciate doing this. I want to go to link building, because that's what your company does.
That's right.
And I don't think a lot of people, I mean, I think conceptually they understand, link building, it makes sense. I connect to another higher domain authority website and that, raises my awareness because it's like hanging out with, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger. You get more people talking to you than if you hung around with, I don't know, Doug Brown, right? So, so
Don't sell yourself short, Doc. Your
well,
podcast is actually very popular. I'm not sure what you noticed, but you're in the top, I guess, 1% or 5% podcast
yeah,
globally.
we're
So
up
you're doing
there. I
great.
mean, it's not bad for
Yeah,
for an organically, just like you did with the
that's
speech,
awesome.
right? And so it will depend, on the commercial intent, if you will, of what you're trying to accomplish and what it is. Because hanging out with Arnold may not give you the response that hanging out with me would in that regard. So I do agree with you there. But a lot of people think about link building as, okay, it makes sense if I can get to these high authority sites, it gives me better results in the process. But I'm going to say probably it depends. Like, is that the case?
You're starting to catch on, Doug. You're practically an SEO consultant by this point. But yes, you actually described it beautifully simply, and because that's pretty much it. So just put yourself in the shoes of Google as a search engine. All right. And let's say you have a keyword like webinar software that has 300 million web pages that contain that keyword. Now, you can argue that, okay, quality of content is number one metric, right? So I want to make sure that the site that loads the fastest and has the best content on it, and it's optimized for everything, and it's user friendly, and everyone loves this page. Let's say you're in the top 1%. All right. I mean, that's a pretty good, I would say, a percentile for any sort of competition against any sort of web page. So let's say in the top 1%, if there are 300 million web pages, you're still in the millions of search results, right? So in the 3 millionth search results, still in the top 1%, right? You've done all the things well. You've gone through the process of finding the right keywords, building the right page, making sure you spent a lot of money on content writers and SEO people, and you're still ranked 3 millionth, right? And nothing gets outside of that top 10 gets any sort of traffic. So how do you go about going through 3 millionth to the top 10? And that's where link building comes in. So once you have the right foundation for your website, now it's still very competitive to get yourself up in the search results. Now, what Google does is kind of like a Mean Girls popularity contest. So, and that's really the basis of how Google became a company. So basically, they came up with this algorithm called Pagerank, which basically looks at other web pages in your space. They're like, okay, if other websites, other authoritative websites are talking about you by these hyperlinks, by these links and they're actually mentioning you and referencing you in their articles, that means that you must be a credible resource. Now it becomes interesting, isn't it? Because now it's not only now related on your rankings are not only dependent on the content you put on your website, but that's also dependent on what other people think about your content and if they're talking about it. And that radically improved the quality of the search results. And that's how Google became the number one search engine in the world. So getting other people to talk about you is pretty much what we define as link building. Now, there's a lot of negative connotation in the market around it because there's a lot of spammy stuff that's been done in the market. But as a matter of fact, it just doesn't work simply. This spammy stuff in the long run, because Google has become extremely smart in figuring out. I mean, it used to work, but now they're over time they're become very smart in figuring out what's actually done and what's just a fake, spammy marketing hack that some SEO guy has done. So getting other publications in your space to talk about you is pretty much what link building is.
So I'm assuming Mr. Page, didn't intend to be the Mean Girls thing in the beginning, but that is so well said. Well, let's talk about Respond. What does your company actually? I know it does link building, but I mean, can you kind of give us a walkthrough? Because I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm on the other end listening to this and I'm going, wow, this is fascinating, right? Oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming potentially. Like I got to become an SEO expert in order to understand what Farzad's talking about, which, you're breaking it down into such simple terms. So it's really cool. But I'm a person, I want to get more authority. I want to have better rankings. I get it depends, right? But let's say I want to use your software and use your platform. what should I be thinking about? Like what should, I mean, obviously you can go take a free trial, which I highly recommend everyone listening to this goes and does. And those of you who know this podcast know I don't make that recommendation every time on this podcast. So I have looked at what you do, and it's really credible and really a really top-notch process for what you do. So I'm an owner. I'm thinking, you know what, man, this sounds smart. I need to get some link building in there. I need to get some more people talking about me, if you will, through that, and need to get more visibility. What do they do?
That is a great point. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the kind words, Doug. I appreciate that. And basically, what Respona does is that it helps you find and reach out to any website on the internet. So the way link builders in the SEO space use it is by first understanding, okay, what are some of the websites in our space that we need to build a relationship with? And so Respona helps you kind of identify these websites that you need to reach out to. And then basically automatically finds the right person in charge at each one of these websites. And then you can connect your email to connect with the right person at each website to collaborate with them. So that's pretty much the basis of Respona.
So I do this thing on Respona, and it actually connects with them, shows me their connection components. I reach out to them. What do I say?
So there's a myriad of different strategies you can follow. I'm happy to give you a couple of examples, but we actually have an average strategy guide that I like to send people to normally. Is that it's basically step-by-step instructions on what you can do with Respona, basically. So different strategies call for different tactics. So let me give you an example that would make more sense. One of the strategies is going as a guest on other people's podcasts, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. All right. So, and by the way, just a disclaimer here, Doug, and I don't know, I mentioned this before the show. This is not the only reason why I'm here. Obviously, as I mentioned, it's a great way for me to meet smart people like yourself and build great relationships. That's number one. And also, as a side effect, what happens is that now you're going to turn this episode, put on your website, and transcribe this episode. And guess what? You're going to have to mention Respona and potentially link to our website because it makes sense, right? So anybody who lands on that page would potentially want to learn more about Respona. So you would say, okay, Farzad, founder of Respona, here's the website. Now, your website is a very high authority website, and you're getting a link to our platform. Nobody spammed anyone. I added value here by, providing you with some content that you can put out, and you're adding value to Respona by talking about us and referencing our website. So these type of mutually beneficial collaborations is the type of things you can do with Respona. So, for example, the way I landed this interview is one of my colleagues, Vlad, he actually goes and finds. So Respona helps you find podcast interviews that other people in your industry have been on. So say you're a CEO of a webinar company. There are a gazillion different webinar companies that their founders and CMOs go on other people's podcasts all the time. So Respona helps you find those episodes and then helps you find the contact information of the host of those podcasts, and then it gives you their latest episodes and some material that you can actually send them a personalized pitch saying, hey, Doug, came across an interview with Farzad, and I love the fact you guys talked about SEO and content marketing, and that's something that we're actually looking to implement over at our company, and not sure whether you're still accepting guests. Would love to hop on a show and talk about X, Y, and Z if you're still open to it. And that's the type of collaboration you can run with Respona. So that's one out of, as I said, a bunch of different types of strategies you can run.
And folks, for those of you who are believing, is that true? That absolutely happened. So hence why we're here today. So
that's right.
So, all right, people, like, cool. This is great. I want to check this out. How do they do it?
Yep. Respona.com, RESPONA.com. We offer a free trial, a demo, but I highly encourage people, before you go into even start a free trial or sign up for a tool. I mean, it's $99 a month. It's not going to break the bank or anything, but I recommend you to watch the videos and first understand if this is the right fit for you. We have a lot of free educational material like the Average Strategy Hub, and we put out a lot of good stuff on our blog. definitely take a look at those and see if this is something that's worthwhile for your team to even spend the time to investigate. And if so, then we're more than happy to help you be successful. We offer free onboarding sessions, all that good stuff to help you get up and running ASAP.
Awesome. Farzad, I want to thank you for being here on the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. I really appreciate it. And just open it up and just telling people how it's done. You didn't hold back. I really appreciate that. And I know the listeners will as well. Anything maybe you were hoping, hey, I hope he asked me this question and I didn't, or something like that? Or did,
I
hey,
think you nailed it, dog.
I did. Okay.
No, I think you nailed it. And if folks want to connect with me personally and not in a capacity to respond, if you have any questions or anything, I'm more than happy to help out. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Farzad Rashidi. There aren't a whole lot of us out there in the world. We had to practice with Doug a few times. So I'm pretty easy to spot. I stick out like a sore thumb normally everywhere. So I'm pretty easy to find. So definitely feel free to reach out. I would love to connect with folks.
And we'll put that, folks, also in the show notes for you, so you won't have to think of how do you spell the first and last name, because it took it's a unique name, and it took me a few times to get it down, but I got it down now, so I appreciate it. So thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it, folks. Go out and check out Respona.com. Like you said, check out the information first. I really think it's great content. And therefore, you'll know if this is right for you. So thanks again, Farzad, for being here. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Doc. Thank you.
Well, that was a heck of a lot to unpack here, so I'm going to do my best. Look, he gave you a couple of questions right out of the beginning. Farzad did. I tried to go right into the strategy, into the right, utilizing the strategy into the right channel. And he rightfully backed up and said, wait a minute, let's just talk about this SEO as a strategy first. And is it good for you? So the first question is, are your clients aware, of the problem? And are they searching for that in Google? I mean, those two questions, are the questions that you've got to ask. Are they aware of the problem that you serve? And are they searching for it online in Google? Now, you might say, well, of course they're aware of what I'm selling, or, they got a problem here, or they got an opportunity here. But the second question is, and this is so important when you're dealing with anything online, whether you're building a quiz online, or you're doing trying to do a workshop online, or you're trying to market something online. Question is, are they really searching for it? And are they searching for it in the way that you think they should be searching? Or are they searching for it in the way that they are searching? There's a totally different play there, because if they're searching for it, but you have the wrong keywords, or you think because, hey, it's coming from my head, I've been doing this for 25 years, I know what my clients want. Maybe not online. So these two questions he gave you are gold if you ask these two questions. And if you figure that answer out, well, now you'll know whether SEO is right for you or a different type of strategy. Like he said, there's all kinds of SEO, right? I mean, you could have Amazon SEO. So maybe your clients are searching for it there. Maybe they're searching on Google. Maybe they're searching on Bing. Maybe they're searching for it in a different place. Maybe they're not searching at all. Maybe they're listening for it on podcasts like this. So where are they searching? And does SEO fit in your play? And then does it fit in for the right channel for your client acquisition? Remember, this is not just about let's get rankings, right? As we talked about Respona, the company he has, and by the way, I highly recommend you check this out. It's about link building, but it's about different link building. It's about using link building for client acquisition, right? It's about finding that target by using link building. So it's very different than if you talk to a company that goes, oh yeah, you know what? Let's connect you up to the highest authority sites we can connect you out and bump up your SEO. Well, that's great. But if people aren't searching for what you have online, guess what? You're just going to spend a lot of money on SEO and on link building, and it's not going to work for you because they're not responding. It's like people who say, in like training companies or a big company and says, I have 1 million people on my list. Well, great. How many are actually responding? Really, when that comes down to that is the question. How many are actually responding to the actual ad you're putting out? Or how many people are responding to what you're trying to get them to do? Because that's really where the rubber meets the road. And Farzad is an expert in this. And this is why I'm so glad that I brought him onto this call, so that we could get the opportunity to go there. So if you found value in this, please reach out to me at Doug@ceosalesstrategies.com. and let me know, hey, this was a great episode. And if you want additional content on anything, let us know what that is, because we started this podcast actually just to give great content. We never realized it was going to grow into this. We just kept delivering great content, right? Real people, bringing them on. So it's grown in that capacity. So you as the listener, you're driving this in many, many plays. People sending stuff in saying, hey, I want this, I want that. I need something good on SEO. I need something great on SEO. There's a difference in those two comments, right? So this was great on SEO. Third thing, if you'd like to be a guest, if you are a CEO or a business owner, or you can provide high, heavy content that's just going to knock people out of the box, and you want an option to maybe be a guest on the CEO Sales Strategies podcast, reach out to myself at Doug at, or You Matter is even better, YOUMATTER at CEOSalesStrategies.com. The team will pick it up. They'll have conversations with you and we'll see if it's a fit. Last thing, if you need anything regarding building your teams or getting yourself up into the top 1% of sales earners globally or in your market. For example, if you're in West Virginia, hey, making $350,000 a year as a salesperson, if that's who you are, or a coach or a consultant or a solo business owner, that's pretty good cash in West Virginia. Now, if you take that to San Francisco, it's going to be closer to $1 million. Now, if you take that to Poland, it's going to be a different number. If you take that to England, it's going to be a different number. Africa, Australia, you name it. What we do is we look at this and we say, how do we get you into the top 1% of earners in selling your products or services for yourself or your company? How do we get your whole team to actually get selling so they're in the top 1%? And guess what? As the business owner, you just make a ton more money. So if you have any desire on and around that subject matter, let me know. Again, reach out to me at Doug at CEO Sales Strategies, Doug Brown 123 at LinkedIn. That is the LinkedIn ad, if you will, for the show. And the last thing I would ask is, if you really love this podcast and you haven't subscribed to it, or you're just listening, you haven't subscribed to it, please give it a great review, subscribe to the podcast. The more subscribers we have, obviously, the better our rankings get, the more we can get out to more people and the more we can help people. And if you have friends, refer them, please. I would really be grateful. Once again, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies podcast, signing off on another excellent episode that we just had, not because I'm braggadocious, but this guy brought the content and really delivered upon it. I'm really grateful he did so. All right, check the show notes. We'll put everything in there for you. Until next time, go out and sell something. Go out and sell a lot of it if you can. Sell it profitably and change people's lives, because sales is about improving other people's lives. And you have the power to do that. To your success.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. What is something that you learned that you could act on today? Don't forget to schedule it now, or it may never get forward momentum. If you find our content valuable, please leave a favorable review and let us know what you liked. Please also share this with others if the content will help them. For our show notes, other episodes, and more interesting content and resources, please visit CEOSalesStrategiespodcast.com. See you soon, and to your continued success.